Hello and welcome to Mish Productions. I'm here with course director Michael Stinton. How's it
Good
going?
morning, Logan.
Good morning. How's it going, Stinton?
I couldn't be better. Love talking to students. That's what we do here at Full Sail. We don't just teach, we interact, we advise, we mentor, and whether it's in the class or outside of it, that's what we do. So I'm enjoying this.
That's good. That's good to hear. Glad you're enjoying everything. So first off, probably one of the more bigger important questions. How exactly did you get into sports?
Well, it was it's a quick story, but obviously I grew up a sports fan. My dad was a New York sports fan. I grew up in New York, loved the Giants and the Mets, and um, I watched everything. I watched the Olympics. I watched tennis. I was a huge tennis player as a kid. I watched baseball and football, all of it. Um, but I went to college to be a writer, and I wanted to get into sports writing, but there's not a lot of jobs in that, I learned. So I wrote for magazines with Murdoch magazines in New York when I first graduated. Then I got a job at the Boston Herald, and I took the job at the Herald, which was in the business department, writing about stocks and all of that stuff with local businesses in Boston. But the spot in the newsroom at the Herald was right next to the sports department. And I thought, oh, if I chum up with those guys, I'll end up maybe sliding into a position there. Well, that never happened. So my wife moved to the Hartford Courant, a newspaper in Hartford, and we settled pretty close to where ESPN was. And I thought, well, here's the worldwide leader of sports. It's around the corner. Why don't I see what I can do? And this is where contacts and networking comes in. I had a buddy from college who worked there. I got a hold of him, and he said, I'll send your name to somebody. And I got a phone call a couple of days later, come in for an interview. And I was asked to take on a role as the college basketball researcher for the college hoop season.
Mhm.
And it was a cut and pay. It was a loss of benefits because it was just a part-time job. But I was writing, like I said, in the business department at the Herald, and I said, this is my chance to get into sports. And I took the job, did it for the college hoop season, was hired on as a full-time researcher after that, and I was there for 18 years.
Wow, you just went through about five questions.
Okay, well, keep
Long.
asking. I'll repeat and I'll expand from that. Hey, listen, you have me as an instructor. Do you know that I can talk? I think you do.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that you can talk, or else everything you had in the classroom, I'd have to assume you came up with it.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know this isn't the way to do this, but I'm
Oh,
going to
you're
ask you a
fine.
question. You came to Full Sail and you learned that the classes were 4 hours long. Did you go, who? What am I getting into?
Actually, when I first got my first schedule, I was kind of a little disappointed because they were like, "Oh, you're gonna have no free time. You're gonna be work like a dog." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, so I'm gonna be my schedule's gonna be packed. I'm gonna be doing this, this, and that." And then I got into it, and I'm like, "Hold on, it's not really all that bad. It's 1 to 2 classes a month, four
Hmm.
good hours, and you have enough like time to get homework done. You can do
Yeah.
extra things like as a sports casting, you can even go work in the studio, do next,
Yeah.
which I haven't done yet, but I want to do
Okay.
next season. So
Call it NXT. Don't call it next. They'll kick you out.
NXT, yeah. Don't come
So
after me.
yeah. So when at my college, which is a traditional 4-year college, you had Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, and you had Tuesday, Thursday. And because the Tuesday, Thursdays were only 2 times a week, they were longer. They were like an hour 40, where the others were like an hour. And I used to go, oh, I have to sit here for an hour 40. So to think that you had 4 hour classes, um, I think I would have been taken aback by it. But that's why I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of video examples, and we do activities so that it makes the time go faster.
You're kind of probably one of the better instructors I had because with most of the instructors so far, they mostly just talk about what's written down, and then that's easy to zone out. But with you, you're cracking jokes, you're interactive with the class, so it makes everything go a little faster and it makes it easier to listen.
Well, thank you. And I think that that was listen, before I taught my first class, even I thought, how am I going to do this for 4 hours? But if you have fun and you make the activities fun and you make the learning fun, I think it helps you absorb it a lot more. And I can tell you that, from the Logan Mish I had on class 1 to class 9, that you've definitely improved. And that's what the idea was. Get
I
better
hope
as you
so.
go along. Yeah.
I hope I improved because if I didn't,
But you have more to do, and everybody does. I can't teach you a brand new way of writing in a month.
yeah,
Okay. That's why it's the second class. And then as you move your way through the program and you continue to write in every class, you're going to get better. All
yeah,
right. So I want you to remember, and everybody that takes my class, remember what you learned there. Don't go, okay, I got that out of the way. Now I'm going to go on to whatever the next thing is. Keep improving. That's how we get better. You hear us talk about reps all the time, right?
yeah.
Those the game recaps. You don't have to write it. You can if you want to, but you should, after every game you watch, think about, what can I how do I tell this story of this game to somebody who didn't see it? All right. And then be creative with that. You can write it if you want, or you can just very simply um, say to yourself, you know what? Uh, how do I want to do this? Okay, I would do it this way, and then move on. Or even come up with a lead,
Mhm.
15 seconds. How would I get into this story?
Yeah. Well, for one of the first stories I wrote for your class, it was the Lightning versus the Rangers. I haven't like recorded myself talking about it yet, but I have it written down. I
Okay.
was first writing it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into this facts. But then that little voice, your voice, kind of just popped in my head, started rolling. I was like, oh, I can't do that. I have to make it entertaining. So then I
Oh, there's
decided,
that.
then I decided, like, hey, last time when the Lightning played against the Rangers, they lost. And then they lost again. So I was gonna make a little pun about, oh, sometimes lightning can't strike twice, blah, blah, blah. And then I
Mhm.
remembered your hatred for cliches, and then I scrapped that idea.
Well, I think I did tell you there are sometimes. Listen, there's cliches and then there's a play on words.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and you can do it. You can say, well, you've heard the cliche, lightning never strikes twice. Well, toss it out the window because the Tampa Bay has won their second Stanley Cup. And that happened a couple of years ago. But you can use it if it's part of the narrative. If you just drop it up, lightning struck twice as the Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup for a second time, then it sounds like you
It
you didn't
sounds
even
forced.
think about it. It sounds like you didn't think about it. But if you do it as a play on words, then it can work.
Hmm.
One of the things I don't like is LeBron James took the Lakers to the promised land in 2020. That's a cliche. But if you could say, uh, they talk about taking a team to the promised land. Well, LeBron James made a promise when he joined the Lakers. We are going to win a title. Today, he delivered on that promise. You see what I mean? I turned it into a
You got to make it interesting. Can't just be
yes.
the average, oh, blah, 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 something, something. That's over. That's
Well,
always used.
why am I tuning into your show if it's not going to be entertaining? I have a phone. All the facts are there. I can look at them and move on. But no, I'm coming to Mish Productions or whatever your fancy name is. Mitch Moss is what you should call it. And
Never
then
heard of that.
I think that's a Yiddish term.
I,
It's just
I
a bunch of stuff. Yeah, well, you know who does?
Who?
Tyson. Ask him.
Tyson?
Uh,
I didn't know. I just thought he was.
he knows all that stuff. But anyway, I'm coming to your show because you're going to make it entertaining.
Hmm.
Okay, Wembayana had a terrific game last night. He beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were a much better team than the Spurs, broke a losing streak. I read all that on my phone. But now I want to see you tell the story about what happened in that game. And
Mhm.
now that's why I tune into your show. But then if I get there and you list the facts, I'm like, I already read these online. I don't need that. So tell a story, grab me by my shirt collar and pull me into your show.
Yeah, that's a new thing with your kind of writing because before it was list what happened, what their stats are with Ruddy, and now with you it's actually making entertaining, which I actually kind of prefer your style of writing more. It
Good.
actually means
Well, it's
something.
not mine. It's that's broadcast writing.
Yeah, I
Uh,
actually prefer that.
Ruddy gives you baby steps to get there.
Yeah,
Uh, in fact, really, what he's talking about is your highlight. And yes, in that highlight, don't just tell me that so and so hit a homer. Tell me that it's his 14th homer of the season, and he's now hit three in the last four games. I can't see that in the highlight. I can see him hit the homer. So don't call it. That ball is long gone and into the seats. I can see that. Tell me the facts that I can't see.
yeah. So you mentioned you went to college and you studied writing. What actually led you to, I believe it's Saint Bonaventure? Is that
St. Bonaventure, yeah. Well, a couple of things. I uh, I was always a good writer in middle school, high school, so I knew I wanted to write. Ninth grade, I was sitting in the library in middle school, and I picked up a book about journalism, and I just went, "This is what I want to do." So I knew then in ninth grade, and then I got ready for it. And in fact, my senior year of high school, they offered a journalism class that I took, and I just went, "This is all I want." So I looked for good communication programs. Uh, I had narrowed it down to University of South Carolina, Virginia Commonwealth, the University of Scranton, except for the other two, they were in the South. Scranton and then St. Bonaventure were near me. I'd say within 4 or 5 hours. And then that basically I went to all of them, looked at them, and I don't know if this is how you felt, but when I got onto the campus of St. Bonaventure, I knew. I just went, I don't know what's happening here, but something's telling me this is the place to be. So I went to the communications department, and the head of the department sat down with my dad and I and talked with us for an hour and told us about the program. And I went, this is what I want. And believe it or not, but this is back in the day before emails and stuff. I went home. About 4 days later, I got a letter in the mail from the head of the department who said, "Hey, I loved speaking to you and your dad. Would love to see you come here in the fall." And I just went, "How do I not come here?" And it was a great decision. So the major was called mass communication. So you learned everything about they had they had some TV work which wasn't really that prolific. There was an on-campus radio station which I worked at for all 4 years I was there. They had a newspaper which I did some work with. So all that was there, but you learned to do everything.
yeah. But it sounds like you made
Right.
a good choice.
Yeah, I'm happy with it now, and it's a small Catholic school in upstate New York with 2,000 people. But when our basketball team, which is a Division I team, travels anywhere, a lot of times you'll see half the crowd are Bonaventure people. You're like, where did these people come from? They came out of the woodwork. I've never heard of this school. You mispronounced it, right? Nobody's heard of the school,
I didn't hear
but
about it until I looked at your LinkedIn. And,
yeah. So. Well, then you forgot in the first class I showed you pictures of it, but that's okay. It's not a big name school. Hey, listen, how about Full Sail? Right? A lot of people are like, "What is that?"
I didn't hear
Uh,
about Full Sail until I actually came
yeah,
here.
and you live in Florida.
Yeah,
What you actually you're quite local.
I'm
I
like
said
two
the other
hours away.
day, I forgot who I was speaking to recently. Um, oh, I know. My wife was buying a car, so we were sitting there with talking to the salesman, and he says, "Sir, your occupation?" And I said, "I'm a course director at Full Sail." What? And I went, "Full Sail?" And this is a car salesman. He doesn't know everything, but he
Yeah.
didn't know. If I had said UCF, he would have known. You know what I mean? So we're getting out there. Here's an aside. Yesterday, we got from Gus 6 emails, 6 separate emails of graduates who were hired in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, usually it comes in dribs and dribs. Hey, so Kyle got a job this week. And the next week, hey, Steven got a job this week. We had 6 different guys hired yesterday. So I wish February 29th came around every year instead of every 4 years.
Yeah. Do you like the new guys, or have you not met them?
No, no, no. I'm talking about guys who are graduates who got jobs in the.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
Yeah. So
No.
6 students got jobs in the business yesterday. In fact, and one of them, one of our best students, he was promoted to sports director. So here's a quick lesson for you. He started as a producer because that was the job that was available, and he wanted to be on the air. But he said, "Hey, I'm getting my foot in the door." By producing the morning show for a while, they finally gave him a job on the air. I say finally, it didn't take that long. Then he moved to the sports side. Yesterday, he was named sports director of the
Mhm.
whole station. Well, you know what the sports director gets to do?
Oh,
Hire the guy that was in his role. And he called Gus and said, I got good news. Number one, I got promoted to sports director. Number two, I need a graduate to fill my role. So there's another guy who's going to get a job.
gotta start making buddies then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Gus is going to say, hey, I'm going to send the best guy. So that's why it's important for Gus, who's the contact for jobs, to have him know your work, know that you can do whatever it is, and move on from there. I told you that story about the guy who did a Rollins baseball game, and Gus listened to it and said, "Wow, I didn't know he was that well versed in baseball." And then the following week, Gus got a call from the MLB network to say, "Hey, we need a guy," and he sent that guy, and he's still there now.
I've been trying to do Rollins, but none of the days that I picked were got approved. So here I am.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Keep
I just
keep
gotta
cracking.
wait for next season.
All right, keep cracking. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because we're headed towards the summer after this. So.
yeah.
But you
Besides,
know what? But here's the other thing. Go anyway. Go in and you can sit up there. You're a student, put your ID around your neck, say, I'm going up to the broadcast booth and watch those guys and learn from them. Maybe they weren't any good, but get up there and see how it's done so that you don't go in blind come the fall when it's soccer, uh, or volleyball. At least you'll have an idea. Okay, yeah, I watched those guys do that. I can handle this.
yeah. Whenever
Or,
I
as I mentioned, watch the live broadcast, turn down the sound, and do your own, and maybe record it.
Mhm.
You got all that fancy gear there, so
All I have is two lights, which were
uh,
part of the box,
okay, good. Your
starting box.
launch,
Yeah, my
good
launch
for you.
box. I have a nice little audio box here, but I need to get a plug for it to actually connect to i
Okay, don't
the
hesitate with that. And then your next sportscasting class, which is in a few months, will be project and portfolio 2,
Mhm.
and you'll learn how to use all that
Yeah,
gear.
I can't wait to learn how to use everything. I've used the audio box before, didn't go well. That
Well,
video sounded awful, never got published. It was an
okay,
old channel, not this one.
gotcha.
Yeah. So you've had an eventful life. Yeah, very
I,
eventful.
I think so. I think so. It's taken me to terrific sporting events, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here, because I had a terrific run at both ESPN for 18 years, Golf Channel for 9, and I think what the fact that I got to go to major sporting events, and have access to athletes that I used to watch on TV, and now I'm interviewing them and talking to them, and you say to yourself, wow, this is great. Now I want Logan Mish and Tyson Collin and Richard Dumont to do the same thing. Why shouldn't you have that chance? Right.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a million jobs out there. You want to fill potholes on the road, you can do that, but that's not fun. What I did was fun. Every day that I went into work, the first thing we would do for the first hour is shoot the breeze about what we saw the night before or what was coming up that day.
yeah,
And then you start your day, which is great.
yeah. When you were talking about picking a school, for me, I always wanted to do entertainment, but
Mm-hmm.
the schools that I applied for, I mean, they're not really notable. And then the one notable one I actually applied for didn't get in.
What
I would,
is entertainment? What is now I'm asking questions. What when you say entertainment, do you want to be on Dancing with the Stars or do you want to be a stand-up comic? There's
well,
a lot of ways you could go.
well, at first I wanted to get into acting because when I was in school, I did drama and chorus and all that fun stuff. So I was
Sure,
like,
yeah.
oh, that's what I want to do. But then when I
I
started
did it all
looking,
as well.
yeah, but then when I started looking into it, I'm like, how many of these guys actually make it? How many that actually pay for the schooling and all this stuff make
Mhm.
it? So then I start looking into broadcasting. This leads me to Pennsylvania and New Orleans. And I'm like, well, these are really far. I'm not, I don't have a lot of money. I don't even have a car yet. So I'm like, how am
Okay.
I gonna do this? And then my stepdad's like, hey, you know that there's a school in Orlando that's for broadcasting. I'm like, no, there isn't. There's only UCF. And I don't want to go to some big,
Uh,
and I didn't want to go to a big college because, you're going to get swept under the rug. You're going to be in a class with over 100 people. It's going to,
mhm.
but he's like, no, not UCF. It's called Full Sail. I'm like, what? What's Full Sail? I've never heard of this. They're not on. I never. Whenever, anytime I'm watching sports, I never see. Oh, here comes the Full Sail football team. No. So
Right.
then I look it up and I'm like, hold on, Dan Patrick. Like that name sounds familiar. So then I look into it. I'm like, it's a sports casting. At the time, I was getting into sports. I had never watched sports religiously like I should.
Gotcha.
So then I'm like, you know what? This is cool, but I don't know if I want to do this. So originally I took it. I went on one of those little, what do you call it? The tour. I wanted to just compare it to another college before I
Behind
went
the
to
scenes
either
stuff.
Pennsylvania or New Orleans. I was going to be like, hey, let me just see what this is about. I meet Gus, and he does the most horrifying thing and tosses me right in front of a camera. And me, I had never been in front of a camera. I've done in front of crowds, that's fun. But
Mhm.
it was nerve-wracking, and I'm stuttering. I can't even pronounce Brett Favre right. I think Favre Ray. I think I said that.
Ray.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's what I said.
that's what the guy did on draft night with the selection. The Packers take Brett Favor.
Yeah. So I'm horrified. I'm stuttering. I can't even pronounce names. But then as I go to walk off, Gus stops me. He's like, "This kid has the what did he say? Pipes. He has pipes." So I kind of fell in
Okay.
love. I loved Gus. He had a cool personality. I loved
Hmm.
the studio.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, we're gonna toss you right in front of the camera day one." And I'm like, "Well, if I went to Syracuse or that other school in Pennsylvania, they're not gonna do that. You need to be in like your third or fourth year to even get in front of a camera." So I'm like, I'm gonna get a lot more what do you call it?
Well,
A lot more
reps,
advantages, a lot more reps, a lot more advantages.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah, attention. So I'm like, hey,
You
this
made a
seems cool.
you made
I
a great decision. First
yeah,
of all, trust in your stepfather. He was right. Don't tell him no. And secondly, that reminds me that you asked the question before about why I went there. That was the other reason, the fact that the classes were going to be small. I looked into Syracuse, but same thing. I would have been in a class of 100 people, and the teacher wouldn't even grade my stuff. It would be some teacher's assistant who's a senior at the school. I don't want that. So
yeah,
you made a good call. I'm glad you did that, and you're going to see it in the end. I mean, look at you. You're already working in the control room in the studio.
I just
You would
directed like on
you wouldn't even
Wednesday.
yeah you wouldn't even touch the equipment at UCF or Syracuse.
Yeah, I'd probably be too horrified to even get in front of a camera.
Don't say that. I want you to be uh, positive and confident and all that stuff,
Yeah.
even though you can't pronounce favor or Favre.
Wow, that was one time.
But I've said the same thing to you about your pipes, okay? And that
Yeah,
is you have the voice. Now, remember, there's three vocal training courses here. You're going to have a chance to make it even better.
I feel like Gus is gonna see this video and go like, I never said that to him. He's got a horrible voice.
Maybe not. Don't
Awful.
worry about it. Listen, pipes is an inside term. If you heard that, it was probably Gus that said it.
So, speaking of Full Sail, how exactly did you get to Full Sail? Because you went from the north working in ESPN and all that lovely stuff. Then you
Right, but
all
then
the way down south.
I came back down to Golf Channel, which was here in Orlando, and I was working there. And Gus and I worked together for 13 years at ESPN, so we were buddies. And I worked with Dan both times at ESPN, the first go around and the second. And when I heard about this, I remember hearing about it. I think I saw it on Twitter, and I texted Gus right away, and I said, "Hey, are you coming down to Orlando?" Because I was already here, and he said, "I'm on my way, and we're about to do a press conference in I think they were in New York at the time with Dan and Josh Mora from the school." And he said, "Tune in." And then I watched it, and I was like, "This is going to be great." And then when he got down here, we met, we talked, and I was ready to do something a little bit different. I have been in TV for 27 years. Now it's a chance to teach TV. And I said, this might be the change in career that I would like. And I have two sisters, they're both teachers. And I went, teaching's in the family. Maybe this is what I would enjoy. And it's been a pleasure from the day I walked in there to today, until Gus kicks me out. And that could be any day now. So I keep an eye out. Always
I
look behind you.
I hope he doesn't, because if any other teacher was teaching, I probably would still be writing with facts only.
Well,
So,
I'm going to keep an eye on you as you go through. That's the good news. I told you that last week. I don't go anywhere, so I'll keep it. I'm going to walk in to that studio, and you'll be doing something, and I'll say, "Let me see that script," and I'll look at it. What are you doing here? So,
you're gonna make my future teachers take off points because I use a cliche.
and
Not
as I
even knowing
mentioned, look, always keep an eye out behind you. It might be me coming up to you in a class down the road.
it. Yeah. Well, anytime you want to take a look at a script, I'll let you see it so I can fix it before I get on camera.
I'm happy to do it.
Awesome, awesome. So for anyone thinking of coming to Full Sail, what would you tell them? Like if they're thinking of coming to Dan Patrick's School of Broadcasting.
Okay. What is your dream? What do you want to do? Tell me that. Tell us that.
Hmm.
And we're going to do our best to make that dream come true. Now, if you say I want to be an Oscar winner movie actor, we can't do that. But if you have a dream to be in the sports casting business, no matter what it is, in front of the camera, behind the camera, with the camera on your shoulder, you can do all that with the education here. And the program, even though it's short and immersive, it does get touch on a lot of different things, and it gives you time to figure out what you want to do. I remember an early student was late in the program. He was struggling in the studio, and I said, "Hey, catch your breath. We'll get this down." And he said, "I don't even want to do this." And I said, "What?" He goes, "I want to be a producer." And I go, "It's the first time hearing of it."
Hmm.
And then the last several months of his run here, he did more producing in the classes. In fact, in the last two classes, PMP 6 and 7, he was helping to produce his fellow students. And now, I mean, that. So that's what I say. That's how you mold things. It's not like you're going to welding school, and when you leave, the only thing you can do is weld, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm dumbing it down, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You'll be able to do a lot of things here. And if there's something here that catches your attention, get in here, because we're going to send you out. And like I said, we have a pretty good graduation rate and success rate at getting jobs in the industry afterwards. You've seen the map right outside of the studio.
Oh, it's a
Yesterday, 6 more pins went up. So
Full Sail is definitely and forgive the cliche, but I have to use it. Full Sail is definitely the Swiss Army knife of broadcasting colleges.
yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't think students would come here if You just said, hey, all we're going to do is get you to do the 6 o'clock sports on your local TV channel. That's not what it is. You know everything: shooting, editing, uh, live shots, putting a package together, and doing the 6 o'clock news at your local station. You'll be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And now there's so many jobs out there. Um, you know, you could end up working for, the Tampa Bay Lightning's website, producing videos, and
I
that
hope so.
content goes out on their social media. And boy, look at that. You're in the business. I didn't have a lot of choices when I graduated. It was TV, radio, newspapers, magazines. That was it. Now there's so much out there. You could do almost anything.
Yeah. This is starting to sound like an advertisement at this point.
Well, I know
I
sometimes
gotta
they say that in class, and I go, "Why am I doing this? You're already here." But I'm speaking the truth. Put it that way.
I gotta talk to Gus, see if he'll toss some cash my way to put this on the Full Sail website.
There you go.
Yeah. So after your long years of teaching, long years, have you ever had a student,
5 years. Settle down. It's only been
long
5
years,
years.
long years, have you ever had a student that you knew like right off the bat they weren't meant for the industry?
Ah, sure, you can identify people right away. You know who those students are? They're the ones that didn't know what they wanted to do. Okay. And they've thought, hey, I can talk sports. Let me try this. And what happens is they get here and they realize, oh, there's a lot of work to be done here. This isn't just a breeze. And those are the people that get weeded out, unfortunately. But if it's not for them, you're not going to force them into it. So you eventually lose students along the way, and you can identify them. I'm the second sportscasting class. I can identify who's going to do it and who's not. And but I don't that decision's not up to me. I will give them an honest assessment of what they did in my class. Then they'll move on, and they'll move on. If they struggle with those classes, well, one thing I say to everybody: if you struggle in my class, I've got news for you. It gets harder and more difficult as you make your way through the program. So make sure you're working hard here and getting it, because with each class, you're adding a new skill set, and then you move on to the next one and you add more, and you fill your broadcasting toolbox. But you got to get through each one. And when it gets too tough, that's when we lose some students. But then we have other students that go, this was the greatest 21 months I've had, and I loved every minute of it. And those are the ones that survive and thrive in the industry.
I'm burnt out after this month, having two classes, being in the studio nonstop. I'm burnt out, but this has
this is
been
one of
one
the
of the
this is
greatest
one of the
months.
toughest months. Yeah, this is
It's
one of the
been one
toughest
of them.
months. Hang in there, and then next month isn't bad. That's the one with physical science,
Pop
and then
culture and
the
science.
I think it's physical science and
It's
pop
pop culture.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are that. So now you get a little break, a little rest.
Yeah. Well, not a rest because I still plan to be in the studio as much as I can. It's fun. It helps the time move faster. You get to meet all
Mhm.
these cool people whenever they come through the studio.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think Chris just said my name the other day, so there's a bonus.
very nice.
For anyone watching, Chris does not memorize names. So if he knows your name, it's either because you really suck, you're really good, or he's learned you just because you're there too much.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. So this is a repeat question that I ask a lot of people. So you have to balance these two, family and the career. They have to be
Wow.
balanced. So when you were working for ESPN and Golf Channel, how exactly did you manage to balance them? Because I remember one story you said that you spent the night at the ESPN building.
Yeah. Well, you have to have a good partner, okay, that understands when does sports happen for the most part, Saturday and Sunday, especially in football, college football, right? So um, you're going to work weekends. What happens on holidays? Are there sports on Christmas? Yeah. Now there's football and there's NBA. So same with New Year's Day. So your holidays are gone. So you have to adjust to that. And your partner has to adjust to that. And your children have to adjust to that. There were many times when my kids were with me at work because I had nowhere else to bring them. uh, and you just do your best to balance it. Is it easy? No, but you find a way because you have two jobs. You still have to be a dad, and you still have to be a good employee at work, and you just do the best you can. It's a struggle. Sometimes the companies that you work for realize that and they help you with it, but just know that you can't ignore one for the other. So you find a way to get that work life balance. It's not easy, and I don't have any secrets for you. It's a day to day thing, and you just work to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, something about your answer really intrigued me. So, does the ESPN building just have like a little daycare inside of it, or how
Well,
does that
they
work?
do. They do have a daycare, but my kids were a little bit older at the time, so they sat with me in the newsroom.
Mhm.
Uh, and I said, just I logged them onto the computer and said, just watch a video or something while I get this stuff done. So it didn't happen often, but there were some occasions where uh, I had no other choice but to bring them in.
The mini Stintons
Yeah,
at the
yeah. So
ESPN?
they've grown up in TV, and they know the participants. They know some of the on-air people. And I remember when Sage Steele, an ESPN anchor, who my kids knew very well. We were very friendly with her. She walked into the store that my daughter worked in, and they're hugging each other, and all the other people are going, "How do you know that big TV star?" So she got a kick out of that.
Yeah. So, when it comes to TV stars, like you just said, and this brought up an entirely new question. I'm not even looking at the questions I wrote down at this point.
Well, we have 8 more minutes, so let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. So, when it comes to like meeting stars, you can't be
Yeah.
a fanboy over it. How did you act in your earlier days of sports
You're
writing?
right. You can't do that. I watched Matthew McConaughey walk through the newsroom, Justin Timberlake walk through the newsroom, and you just look at them and you give them a nod. You have to respect they're there for a reason, right? So you respect their celebrity. Um, the biggest the biggest moment I had was with Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice is about to join us as an analyst, and he's going to do the show that I'm producing. And I sat down with him to talk about what we would do on the segment. And he's sitting there listening to me talk TV to him because he didn't know it and he wanted to know. Mike, I want to do real well with this. What should I say about this? And I walked him through it. Meanwhile, the whole time, my heart's pounding, going, I'm talking to the GOAT of wide receivers in the NFL history. And I wanted to say, I've watched you, your entire career, but I couldn't do that. The tables were turned. He was looking up to me because I had the knowledge that he didn't have, and I had to take that fanboy card and shove it in my pocket. But I remember afterwards, I just went, "Wow, this." I said, "It's great talking to you, and I hope all goes well for you and your future TV stuff." And he did well. So, but Dave Winfield was a baseball player that I had a lot of conversations with, and I thought, this is great. So those two guys having just sit down, let's shoot the breeze about what you're going to do today. And then you realize, these are guys you watched all the time growing up. It's exciting, but you got to play it cool, Logan.
I always play it cool. Well,
Be
that's probably one
professional.
of the benefits of not being a super sports fanboy.
Yeah.
Just play it cool. All right, so this should be the last question, unless you say something
Okay.
that's really intriguing, which then it'd be your fault. So for people just getting into broadcasting or sportscasting, what advice would you give them, or would you tell them to just come to Full Sail?
No, no, no. And listen, I'd love for you to come to Full Sail, and it would benefit you, but you can go anywhere you want. But here's the thing: try try everything. Try because if you're depending on your age, if you're young and coming out of high school, you have some thoughts about what you want to do, but you don't know. I mean, I went to Bonaventure to become a writer. I never got to be long term the writer that I wanted to be, the newspaper writer who went out and uncovered stories and all of that. I ended up in TV, and I never thought that was the case. I didn't even take a TV class at Bonaventure, even though there was one offered. Um, so you don't know what you're going to do. So try everything. All right. At our school, and I'm not going to promote it, but you have options. You can spend time in the control room like you have done. You can call play by play. You can work NXT in wrestling. Try that stuff. We had a guy that went to the NXT wrestling stuff, and he was uh, made fun of by the wrestlers because he didn't know anything. But he said, "I'm going to give it a try." Then he became a fan. All right. But he added things. Try things. Don't be afraid. Take some risks, and then you'll discover what you might want to do in this business. But don't say, "I just want to be a play-by-play guy," and that's all you do. Try everything. I've said this before. With your background as a director, now you're not, at the beginning of the program. By the time you finish, the fact that you can direct the show as well as be on the air, what a great thing to have in your back pocket. What if the director calls in sick that day? They're going to go, "What do we do?" "Oh, you know what? Logan, get him in there." And Logan's directing the show. I'm telling you that having that on your resume is going to be, it could be what puts you over the top of the next candidate.
Mhm. Well, you got any final words of wisdom, Stinton, before I let you go?
Final words, all I can say is keep grinding at this job. It's a wonderful business to be a part of. If you're thinking about it, give it a try. Whether it's this school or anything else, I had a smile on my face every day I went to work and every day on the way home. And if you can do that in life, you're a winner. And I want you to be a winner.
All right. Well, thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it. This has been course director Michael Stinton from Full Sail. You were watching Mish Productions. Have a good one.